Hi guys, welcome to this video. My name is Laura from Shamanic Healer at shamanichealer.com. Third try is a charm, so we're finally getting this video started after like 3 or 4 trial runs. Today I wanted to share this video with you because some people have asked me in the past, especially on my older channel, about cloning and how it works, how is it even possible that they walk among us and all of those things. And I just want to pinpoint the island as a video or a movie that you guys can watch. So we're just going to highlight this and the synopsis of it too. I know there was an older video out there in terms of what do they look like, how can you determine what clones are and all of that. And I might have a newer version of that out at 1.2. I'm just not 100% sure if I'm going to put it on YouTube or on BitChute or other platforms. But regardless, for those people who are interested in it, because it is really confusing, I agree. You know, there are people out there saying, oh, well, if they're walking here, they're humans and everything. Well, it's not really that easy, right? Like, there's also like synthetic stuff among us, you know, it's like synthetic things that people consume or smoke or all of that stuff. So it's similar with people and humans, right? So not every single human has a soul, but the islands highlights this very well. And when I saw this movie a few weeks ago, I was on my way back to the US, which is pretty much the only time I really only watch movies when I'm on the plane or something. But I was on my way back. I was like, oh, The Islands looks like a decent movie. And then 1 hour in, I'm just like, wow, this is how they do it. Wow, impressive. It's from 2005, so it is an older movie. Somehow I had never seen it. Maybe some of you have back in the day. Going through the synopsis, I'm just going to go through a few different ones. You could find it on Wikipedia, imdb.com, all of those. Let's grab the one from Amazon. So it's by director Michael Bay. He delivers a striking look at a strange world of the future in the sci-fi action drama. Midway through the 21st century, Lincoln 6 Echo, which is Ewan McGregor, lives in a confined indoor community after ongoing abuse of the earth has rendered most of the planet uninhabitable. So this is a fictional reality. One of the only places in the outside world still capable of sustaining life is an idyllic island where citizens are chosen to live through a lottery. Or at least that's what Lincoln and his fellow citizens are taught to believe. The truth is that Lincoln, like everyone he knows, is actually a clone who is kept under wraps to provide needed organs when the person who supplied his or her DNA falls ill. When he becomes aware that his existence is a fraud, Lincoln escapes to the outside world with a fellow clone who's Jordan 2 Delta, Scarlett Johansson, though the powers that be are determined to see that no one gets away alive. Now let's go to the Wikipedia synopsis, the plot, which is basically the plot. So on July 19th, 2019, and this was filmed in 2005, so they're setting it in 2019, which is really interesting because we're already past that date, right? We're in 2023 at this point when I'm recording this. And what happened in 2020, right? So this is 2019, according to the movie. Lincoln 6 Echo and Jordan 2 Delta live with others in an isolated compound. This dystopian community is governed by a strict set of rules. The residents are told that the outside world has become too contaminated to support life, with the exception of a pathogen-free island. Each week, one resident gets to leave the compound and live on the island by way of a lottery. Okay, so the way that you see it in the movie is basically you see how they wake up, they're surrounded by AI in the movie. Okay, this is literally just in the movie, but it might sound familiar because that's basically the world that some countries are creating. You know, you look at Japan, you look maybe at China, you look at other realities. It's very clear that the movie is closer to those realities. So he wakes up, Lincoln 6 Echo, which is Ewan McGregor, and he's basically surrounded by complete AI. You know, like an AI voice wakes him up, and he gets out of bed. He's being tested right away. There's some AI robot that comes test him right away. He has to put on his uniform or clothes. So basically a drawer just opens up, shelves, drawers, whatever is next to his bed. And they're all folded, you know, neatly stored away. And if something's missing, he has to report it. So he always wears the same uniform, the same looking clothes, at least the same socks, everything. And then he walks around this AI looking almost like a spaceship, in my opinion. You know, whatever it is, it's obviously, I don't know if it's underground or above ground, but to me, it almost looks like a spaceship thing, whatever you see in the Matrix movies too. He walks along those, and there are just people that look similar. You know, they don't all look the same, obviously, but they all wear the same uniform. There's no real originality, uniqueness, no creativity, nothing there. So then they go to this cafeteria type place where they get their breakfast. And before, when they wake up or whatever, actually a computer measures their blood pressure, their blood, you know, everything. They kind of measure what they would need to eat that day. Like if they had too much meat the week before, they're on a diet, those kind of things. Or if they have too much sodium in their diet, they need like less sodium. So everything is kind of, I think it's on their wrist or like in a watch on their wrist, something like that. There's like a little bracelet on their wrist where it's measured, but I wouldn't even be surprised if, and there's even a tattoo below that bracelet too. So it's pretty serious. And so he goes to the cafeteria where he has to scan his bracelet. And then the woman who dishes out the food, she's like, okay, no sodium, so no bacon, no this, no that. And he kind of loves bacon, so he wants the bacon and everything, but he doesn't get it. So you get some oatmeal or whatever. And then the girl, which is the Jordan 2 Delta clone, which is Scarlett Johansson. So him and her, they kind of have something going on, you know, like it's like a fling or whatever, but not really, because people don't really display their feelings in that environment. So it's almost like 1984 or other utopian books and societies. So anyhow, everything's very mechanical. She goes ahead and sweet talks this woman who gives out the cafeteria food so that he gets his bacon or whatever. And then both of them are reprimanded by one of the people who oversee the entire scenario. You know, they kind of oversee the entire clones. And they're like, you can't get too intimate, you can't do this, whatever. And then they want to measure his, Ewan McGregor's brainwaves, or no one really knows what they're measuring, but they put him in this machine, you know, looks like a scanner, measure him, everything. And so then every night there's a lottery draw where people are basically brainwashed into believing, oh, we're going to go to the island. One person every day gets to go. It's so special. I think it's every day, or at least every other day, it appears. And so whenever their workday is done, which their workday is very, very boring, I'll go into that too. But whenever it's done, they all kind of like huddle around this mega screen, which looks like a flat screen already back then too. And so it looks like this huge thing, a hypnotizing voice with a woman who also kind of looks like a clone, in my opinion. She basically tries to sell them the island idea, and oh, wow, you're so special, you can now go to the island. Some people who've been there for like 2 days go to the island. Some people who've only been there for like 2 years or 6 years go to the island. So it's very arbitrary the way they go. Supposedly it's a lottery system, but we find out at the end it's not really a lottery system. And so everyone kind of is excited for whoever goes, but usually it's not the person who's been there the longest. So there's one person who's been there for like 6+ years, and he never gets to go. So he gets quite mad. He has like all these tantrums that he's throwing. And so they try to reprimand him or maybe even take him out of the game or whatever. Anyhow, for a few days, you kind of see that in the movie until one day, Jordan to Delta, which is Scarlett Johansson, is supposed to go to the island. And the only reason she's supposed to go to the island, as we find out in the movie, is because her actual, what do you even call that, carrier, or the person who she was cloned from, actually had an accident, and this person is an actress somewhere in LA. So this person who paid, I forgot how much it is that they paid, if it was like 400,000 or half a million or whatever, they paid $500,000 to have a clone done from them. The only reason they want a clone done from them is so that they can have the organs to harvest, and in case there's an accident like there was in her case. So this actress in LA, she's in the hospital, but she's already been there for like 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever. So she's already pretty brain dead, and it's not like any organ transplant would really save her. They're still gonna kill off this clone though, which is the one that kind of has an affair or a love affair going on with Ewan McGregor. They're still gonna kill her off because whoever that actress is, she paid for her clone, and she wants the organs now, so she deserves to have them, right? And so this is where it gets really messy, because they're kind of insinuating in this entire movie that clones can have feelings for each other, you know, like one clone is in love with another clone, all of that. Let's just go through the plot here in Wikipedia again, though. So Lincoln, which is Ewan McGregor, begins having dreams that he knows are not from his own experience. Dr. Merrick, a scientist who runs the compound, is concerned and places probes in Lincoln's body to monitor his cerebral activity. While secretly visiting an off-limits power facility in the basement where technician McCord works, Lincoln discovers a life moth in a ventilation shaft, leading him to deduce the outside world is not really contaminated. Lincoln follows the moth to another section where he discovers the lottery is actually a system to selectively remove inhabitants from the compound, where the winner is then used for organ harvesting, surrogate pregnancies, and other important purposes for each one's wealthy sponsor, of whom they are clones. So these wealthy sponsors are usually actors, VIPs, celebrities, anyone who can really afford this clone. Merrick learns Lincoln has discovered the truth about his existence, which forces Lincoln to escape. Meanwhile, Jordan has been selected for the island. So the girl has been selected. Lincoln and Jordan escape the facility and emerge in the desert. The desert looks pretty much like Nevada, Arizona. I think it was filmed in Nevada. Lincoln explains the truth to her, and they set out to discover the real world. So then the scientist hires like a hitman to find and return them to the compound. Lincoln and Jordan find McCord, who explains that all the facility residents are clones of wealthy sponsors and are kept ignorant about the real world and conditioned to never question their environment or history. Doesn't that sound familiar somehow? So they're basically having these implanted memories in their brain, which are implanted in them before they go to this facility or spaceship or whatever. And the way that you see it in the movie is basically just a whole bunch of flashes and also voices in their head, which I find very interesting, because sometimes people think, oh, have my memories been altered, or what's really going on here, like the Mandela effect type of thing. I remember this differently. What's going on, right? So it's definitely something that makes you wonder. McCord provides the name of Lincoln's sponsor, who's a yacht designer, a boat designer, Tom Lincoln, in LA, and helps them to a station where they can board an Amtrak train to LA. And then in New York City, Jordan's sponsor, supermodel Sarah Jordan, is comatose following a car crash and requires transplants from Jordan to survive. Lincoln also meets Tom, his sponsor, who gives him some explanation about the Cloning Institute, causing Lincoln to realize that he has gained Tom's memories. Tom seemingly agrees to help Lincoln and Jordan reveal Merrick's crimes to the public, but he secretly betrays them to Merrick, as he desperately needs Lincoln's liver to survive a condition that he has. Tricking Lincoln into leaving with him, Tom brings him to an ambush that results in a car chase through suburban LA. And it actually ends with Lincoln tricking the hitman into believing Tom is the clone. And the way he did that in the movie was actually so the clone, Lincoln, put his bracelet off and put it on Tom, his sponsor. And so in this crucial moment, the hitman just looked at the bracelet and killed off the real person, not the clone, which was interesting. So tricking him into believing the clone is Tom, and killing him, allowing him to assume Tom's identity. Returning to Tom's home, Lincoln and Jordan give into their romantic urges. So this is when they're having like this entire full-blown love affair or whatever, which once again, it's like, okay, so clones can pretty much be like regular humans at this point, right? At least in the movie. Merrick surmises that a cloning defect was responsible for Lincoln's memories and behavior, resulting in him and every future clone generation to question their environment and even tap into their sponsors' memories. To prevent this, the scientist decides to eliminate the 4 latest generations of clones, meaning a whole bunch of people in that facility. Lincoln and Jordan, however, plan to liberate the other clones. And the way they're doing that is interesting. So the clones are put in this elevator shaft or whatever, and then they're supposed to be gassed up, which is obviously very inhumane, right? Posing as Tom, Lincoln returns to the compound to destroy the holographic projectors that conceal the outside world. So those are all around. And this makes you wonder, holographic world, are they projecting something for us too? Jordan allows herself to be caught to assist Lincoln's plan. The hitman has more qualms about the clones' treatment after witnessing their fight for survival. And he learns that Sarah Jordan, the actress, may not survive even with the organ transplants. So he decides to help Jordan. The clones are freed, seeing the outside world for the first time. And Lincoln and Jordan sail away in one of Tom's boats and have their romance together. Going to the island together, which is basically the movie's title. So basically, I find there's a whole bunch of disclosure in this movie, to be honest with you. And it kind of explains how clones would live among people, according to this movie, at least, right? Would they necessarily be kept in an underground facility? No, like they could be walking among us, in a utopian society, which we may or may not live in. And this coming out in 2005 already would give you an idea of what type of disclosure already happened almost 20 years ago. Where do you think they're at now, right? Because this was supposed to take place in 2019, according to the movie. Right now in 2019, we have more technology than that movie ever even really mentions. So I think it gives you a good idea of how it could happen. Now, if you want to watch the movie, definitely go ahead, do it. I'm not doing any commercial or advertisement for it, but I thought it was a pretty eye-opening movie on how things are played. And also gave me idea too, because I just had like these pictures posted by 2 of my friends on my Facebook feed. And I'm like, it was so strange. I wish I could share them. Unfortunately, I can't, unless I like cross out their eyes or something. I don't know. But basically they were immersed in water because they were swimming somewhere. And the way they were coming up, it's like basically the way their faces were and their entire body even, it really reminded me of this movie where the bodies in this movie are just immersed from the clone facility and they're made into humans or people. So it's kind of like almost when you're born, you're all wet and you're just those kind of things. But these are like adults in the movie. And just the way I saw that with these 2 people in the pictures in my real life, I was like, so they are among us. And I already got insight on these 2 people, which is why I'm like, I wish I could share those pictures, but I can't because the risk is too high that they might come across this video. So when I already tapped into their energy like 2 years ago, every time I saw their eyes looked so empty to me. And that's always a huge sign when the eyes look so empty. It's usually there's nothing there. There's no soul in the body. And yeah, we might have another video on what they look like exactly, but I think for now this could give you more insight. I hope this helped. Thank you so much for your support, everything you do. Let me know if you have any thoughts on it. and talk to you very soon. Bye, guys.